In this video, I'm going to go over how NoFap, or reproductive fluid retention, has the capacity to produce a state of superconsciousness in the practitioner. But before I go into that, I would strongly encourage and appreciate the viewer to take the time and make the small investment in buying my book, The Biology of Success. It's heavily researched, and this information is an extension of the information that I lay out in this book in a very digestible and understandable way. It's there's a lot of biochemistry in it in regards to NoFap and sex. So I would very much appreciate if you make the small investment to buy my book and support me and the information that I provide through these videos. Okay, so let's just get into the board here and just go over how we can achieve a state of superconsciousness through seminal fluid and reproductive fluid retention. Okay, so let's talk about the brain first. So the brain is located in the head as well as the spinal column. There is both white and gray matter along the spinal column, and that's also consistent with the brain. So when we talk about consciousness, we really refer to the I am consciousness usually, and that's our waking consciousness, our awareness. And researchers have surmised that our consciousness is in the cerebral cortex, and that is known as the seat of consciousness, and I consider the cerebral cortex the skin of the brain. But the mind is an extension of the consciousness. It also extends to the subconscious, and other parts of the brain have their own awareness in performing vital functions for our body and aware of our surroundings in a way that the I am consciousness or normal consciousness is not aware. And I believe that part of the subconscious mind exists in the brain along the spinal column. So again, the spinal column is part of the brain. Here is a cross-section of the spinal column. It has gray matter and it has white matter consistent with that of the brain. So our skin has these nerves, these afferent nerves, okay? So the skin has afferent nerves that send information from the outside world into the spinal column, this part of the subconscious, this part of the brain. And when that information reaches the spinal column, the body, the mind of that area determines a chemical response, and that sends it out to the muscle, and the muscle performs an action in response to the information being received from the skin. So information lands on the skin. We're being bombarded by information on a constant basis that's well beyond our conscious understanding. So all this information in chemicals and all these environmental stimulus reach the skin. The skin sends this information to the subconscious along the spinal column. The spinal column, or this subconscious area of the mind, makes a decision, and that decision determines a chemical response, and that chemical response translates into action to the muscles. So this information is summarized right here, the afferent and efferent nerves in our body. So what reproductive fluid and the practice of retaining reproductive fluid does is it creates, when we hold our reproductive fluid internally, it eventually builds up pressure. That fluid is refined, and the refinement of that fluid then moves up the spinal column into the brain. So we have movement from the base of the spine to the head of the spine. And that is how these signals, this information now moves up toward the brain, where we can become consciously aware as these signals and this information now has the potential to reach the cerebral cortex, which again is the seat of our consciousness. So all this information that we're receiving that we're not aware of, the practice of semen retention, of reproductive fluid retention, and as that reproductive fluid rises up the spine, it gathers all these signals, all this information from the outside world that we're not aware of consciously, and we become conscious of it slowly over time. Now, this also presents the opportunity to experience telepathy. because telepathy, based on, again, this is referenced in my book, so you'd want to find the reference in my book that I present this information here with. Pardon me. So anyways, we have the capacity to become telepathic in that thoughts from other people enter the navel, which would be, I guess, around here, and then it's sent up into this, up the spine, into the brain, and then it enters the pineal gland. And at that point, our consciousness slowly becomes aware of the thoughts of other people. Now, we can amplify this natural antenna, this natural relay system that we have by, again, practicing seminal reproductive fluid retention. So this is a way for us to become telepathic. So again, if we want to experience supernormal awareness, the best way to do that, from my experience, is practicing seminal fluid retention. The fluid's refined, moves up the spine into the brain. Along the way, it pulls all the information that we're receiving and that's being processed by the subconscious up into the brain, where we can slowly become aware of our world in a greater way. So again, please buy my book. I would be very appreciative, and thanks for watching.